If there's any comment, questions, we can entertain those, or we need a motion to approve the minutes.
I make a motion to approve the last committee minutes,
Not committee, board meeting.
last board meeting minutes.
Okay, anybody second?
Second.
All right, everybody in favor of approving previous board meeting minutes as presented, say aye. Aye. They are approved. Thank you. All right, so our next item is review and approve the request for waiver of 19 TAC 100.1033B9AI board resolution and charter amendment to expand geographic boundaries of the below listed HPS charters retroactive to July 1st, 2015 in order to address discrepancies found in PIMS by 2014-2015 survey of geographic boundaries conducted by the TA Division of Financial Compliance, Harmony School of Excellence, Harmony Science Academy Alston, Harmony Science Academy El Paso, Harmony Science Academy, and Harmony Science Academy Bay.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, basically TA makes audit regarding geographic boundaries. Let me give you just a little background about what is geographic boundary. It's a boundary when we apply it to first charter, we identify school districts and their boundaries as our location that we can enroll kids. Like for example in Houston, if you're opening school in Houston, we usually include all 54 school districts around our in the Harris County. In case a child show up and then transfer from that district to our school, so we can be eligible to receive funding for each child that lives in the boundary. So that's actually we decided way back when we first applied. As a result of recent audit, we had some districts, kids came to us we did not identify at that time. So Ms. Baka is here to walk you through these items and explain how we respond or how we went through this process.
So like Dr. Green mentioned, TA conducted a geographic boundary survey, and they did this for all charters for the 2014-2015 school year. And then 5 of our 7 districts were asked to submit some supporting documents to verify some of the geographic boundaries. And these supporting documents were like proof of residency, and they use the student's address to look up to see which IC district the students belong to. And out of the 30,000 students that we have, our register made a mistake of accepting 37 students, which did not reside within the district on our boundary list. So to correct this, TA has asked us to add these districts to our current geographic boundary list by submitting an expansion amendment to expand our geographic list. So to do this, we are asking for you to review and approve our request for the 19 TAC 100.1033 because our expansion, to submit our expansion amendment, we had a deadline of the timeline of February 1st, April 1st. But since we passed that deadline, we have to submit the waiver.
So why this is important? If you ask me why this is important, if a child doesn't live within the geographic boundaries that we want to enroll, then we are not eligible to receive funding for that child. So if anybody wants to come, let's say from, I don't know, just like College Station ISD, right? They are eligible because, I'm sorry?
Tomball ISD.
Tomball ISD, Tomball I think is in line list. So our geographic boundary is so vast, so big, believe me, it's like includes almost all Harris County, including Tomball ISD, all the way to Pearland ISD too. Even though we may not have anybody, but if somebody shows up, we keep it so large. Even though we kept it so large, there are still kids, we just find out as a result of this review, that there are still 27 kids in our system that is not designated the place that we actually enroll kids. So that's why we're amending, we're asking you to approve this resolution so we can, we are eligible to receive funding for those 37 students.
So this change takes care of that 37. Does it take care of the future any?
So,
or how are we going to
so
prevent
this
any
expansion
future?
amendment will only take care of the 37 students. For us to add any additional district to our geographic boundary, we have to wait to our timeline opens up again.
Next year.
Which is February 1st.
And what mechanism is there now? Are we changing anything so that we can stop this before it happens? Like we say, if there's any possibility that another 10, 15 more students to...
Yeah, the question is a good question. So in the future, I think we are changing our database. If anybody applies from a school district and they, when they apply, they have to say which school district they're coming from, the system will catch them and say that you're not eligible to attend our school. That's the first thing that we are going to do.
So our register is going, we sent out some information, we're going to provide some additional training to our register, and there's a system in place. If a student comes and enrolled at our school, the register knows that they're going to take the address and they're going to go to this website to type in the address to make sure that the address shows the IUC that belongs to our boundary. And if it doesn't, then they'll notify the parent that you couldn't enroll because you're out of boundary.
And if we see maybe there are more kids coming from the district that is not included in our boundaries, we may again come back and ask amendment to include it in our charter.
Okay. Are there any negative connotations if we were to actually have students after we do this?
No, sir.
No?
No.
Okay.
All right. If there's no more questions, we need a motion to approve this.
So I'm going to make a motion to approve the request for the waiver
And resolution.
And the resolution.
and the resolution for the 19 TAC 100,000. All this stuff.
Just resolution. I already read it, so rather than repeat your motion, just
All right, so we want to approve
resolution.
the resolution to approve the request. We want to approve the request for waiving the resolution to go ahead and actually expand the reach for all the districts that we previously read by the chairman of the board.
All right, we have the motion.
I'll go ahead and say.
All right, so everybody in favor of approving this waiver and board resolution and charter amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. They're approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so our next item is review and approve the written performance agreement and the request for waiver, again 19 PAC 100 1033 B9A III and board resolution to apply new school designation for Harmony School of Science Houston and Harmony Science Academy El Paso.
Yes, again, Ms. Barra is here to explain this item in regards to applying a grant for actually designating to new schools so we can have startup class.
Thank you, sir. So TA usually shares information about the charter school program, which includes the new school designation. And the new school designation is also known as the startup grant program, which is a designation that allows an existing charter holder to be eligible to apply for and receive federal charter school program grant for a new charter school campus. So with the new school designation application, we have to submit it with an expansion amendment request form. However, this year, TA didn't release information to us until April 21st. And this date passes our deadline to submit the expansion amendment because our expansion amendment is between February 1st and April 1st. So two of our new schools, Harmony School of Innovation Katy, and then the Harmony School of Excellence in El Paso, qualified for this funding, but since our expansion amendment timeline has passed, TA has instructed that all charter schools that qualify for this new school designation to submit a waiver. That's the 19 TAC 100.1033B9A II on or before Friday, May the 20th to qualify to apply. So the new school designation requires us to submit also a written performance agreement. And then in our agreement, we assume that we will meet the federal definition of a charter school as defined in public law and the eligibility criteria under the TAC. And it also outlines the ways in which this agreement is different from the requirements of the existing school operated as part of the charter. And then it also discussed in this agreement 3 to 5 higher student performance for the new schools that's currently operated by the charter. So, you know, in your document, it includes the written performance agreement. If you have any questions about that, Dr. Oster is here to provide some details.
So this performance agreement, is it for Kate Innovation only, not El Paso, right? El Paso, you are asking for waiver for El Paso and agreement for Kate
No,
Innovation.
sir, exactly the same application.
Both same?
But this document was not included in the package. That's why Mr. Yüksel just handed out to you.
Because it
For you
says
to have
Innovation
it.
Kate.
But this is for KD. You
But
have
there's
the El
another
Paso
one for El
one
Paso.
inside the package.
Okay.
So this is interesting. This focus is makerspace movement. This is something we're bringing in.
Yes, we have 2 campuses, and to be able to eligible for the grant and to basically promote innovation, the grant asks campuses to come up with new innovative programs. So for El Paso and for the Katy campus, one being a K6 and the other one being 612, we wanted to extend our STEM programs. So the elementary one, we're currently working on the engineering principles for elementary students and coding, that is for elementary. And for the high school, 6 through 12, we're focusing on increasing our makerspace movement in our high school. This would mean more 3D printing, more design, also robotics. We also would like students to spend more hands-on activities, and that would also increase the implementation of programs such as PLTW and other CTE programs. So I think these 2 campuses, with this grant, I think we can use this money to create more of these opportunities for students. And when we become successful in those campuses, we definitely would like to replicate the same things in every other Harmony campus.
So this grant, it's federal grant, right?
Mr. Chairman, is it a startup grant? Just like if you were to apply a brand new charter, usually brand new charter is always eligible the federal grant, federal startup grant. Because we already have, we're not applying to start a brand new school. There is some sort, in the same idea, TAs, and this time TA is providing a similar startup grant for campuses. So because we're opening 2 schools next year, El Paso and West Houston campuses, so we're applying the same.
I'm interested. My question is, Dr. Ozer said because of this grant, they're asking you to come up with an innovation model, and that's why we are doing makerspace movement, which is very interesting. I'm asking, what is this? Is it a startup grant or is it a specific grant?
Startup grant, sorry.
And one of the requirements is that you provide
Something-
unique programs,
A unique program.
something that you have not done before.
Is it the same amount, around 400,000, like startup?
It's a little more now.
800 for
it
one?
used to be- Yes,
And also, Dr. Özel, I think the performance goals also are different, am I right?
Yes, and they also would like to have higher performance goals, so we have increased the goals for those campuses for reading and math. We have goals for every campus, but these 2 particular campuses, what we're saying is with the help of the grant, that will help students'
Higher
success
achievement.
and higher achievement.
Right. So if you remember, we had a parent, like 2
Yes.
meetings period. He was talking about Raspberry Pi and this, so he was.
So those are, you have seen Raspberry Pi there, right?
I saw it.
Those are
This
included
is,
in there.
these are cool stuff, so I think, and hopefully this grant will be a start, and then we can replicate it, just like you said, through our system. All right, any questions, comments, or motion?
I will make the motion.
The item is You can just say motion to approve performance agreement and the waiver, and the board resolution.
I move that we approve the performance improvement and the waiver. And the board resolution.
I second that.
All right, so everybody in favor of approving the performance agreement and the waiver and the board resolution for these two schools, say aye. Aye. They approved, thank you. All right, so our next item is review and approve pre-K third and pre-K fourth admission and enrollment policy for all HBS charters.
Yes, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, next two items are about the pre-K program that we plan to implement as a pilot program in Austin. And Ms. Baca will give you an update about this. Item number 7 first.
Yes, sir, thank you. So I'd like to present to you the pre-kindergarten admission and enrollment policy for all HPS charter. Our policy is aligned with the rules and regulations set by TA. Here's a brief summary of our policy. So the first item is the requirements for pre-kindergarten to be eligible for our pre-K program. The student must be 4 years or 3 years of age by September 1st. And then they must meet at least one of the following criteria, which is, and then they must also reside within a district geographic boundaries. So one of the criteria is to be unable to speak or comprehend the English language, and these are usually our ESL or left student. And then they all either be economically disadvantaged or homeless, as defined by 42 United States Code Section 1143A. Or belong to a military family, or they are eligible to meet the Head Start program, or they are in foster care. And then the next item is the approval is based on their limited English proficiency. That means how well they can speak the English language, or they're homeless. And then they also have to provide their proof of income for income eligibility. And then if they're military children, they have to provide some kind of documentation to show that they belong to a military family. And then foster care is usually a document from the state showing that they're in foster care. And then for the Head Start program, usually students belong to the National School Lunch Program. And this is where they receive free or reduced lunch. And then the documents that we are going to require for these pre-K kindergarten parents to submit is a certified certificate of their child's birth certificate, their current immunization record, social security card if it's available, a parent photo ID, proof of residency, and that's usually a current bill or a lease agreement. And they also have to provide proof of income if they're applying on the basis of economic disadvantage. And then also court documentation or letter from CPS establishing foster care if they're applying on the basis of circulatory. And we will also follow the existing policy on application period, which is November 1st to February the 10th. And then also the same for the lottery process, filling policy, and then for the admission of returning students, transfer student, and non-discrimination. So all these will follow the same policy that we already have existing for the regular students, so K-12.
Sorry for asking this, but I'm just curious. What is the difference between educational disadvantage and economically disadvantage?
Sorry.
What is educationally disadvantaged students?
So educational disadvantaged students are students that they come from a family that doesn't speak English is not their first language. So they would be non-English speakers. And economically disadvantaged is the students that qualify for the National School Lunch Program. These are students that don't pay a full price for meals. They either pay the reduced price or they're free, or they belong to is a SNAP program.
At 4 p.m. we had this academic committee meeting, and Austin was here also. So three of us were part of that meeting. So they kind of mentioned, I mean, reminded us that we already approved it, that's coming. So I didn't ask you, we don't have time. I know that it's a pilot, it's for 2 schools. What is the first year population that we have? How many seats do we have for pre-K, for Austin, for next year?
So for Austin, one of the campus, they opened 2 sections. Then as of maybe about a couple weeks ago, they have about 19 students that enrolled for their pre-K program.
That's for next year, right? It's not
So that means we're starting in Austin first?
yeah, it's pilot in Austin.
So, it's going to be just Austin next year, that's it? And what else?
San Antonio, also San Antonio.
San Antonio.
So Austin is at 2 campuses. It's at the Austin Runberg and then Austin local site.
Well, my other question is, up to now, we were not taking any pre-K students. Why is the change? Why we get,
Good question, sir. There is a lot of push. The reason we were not doing because of the funding issues.
Yes, yeah, we were getting.
But recently there's a national push about from educators and funders to really have a pre-K program, additional pre-K program in schools so they can provide funding. And we start as a pilot program, and it's the impact is going to be a lot less on our organization as we, as legislators get maybe set aside money for next session. We want to be ready for lunch in a school. So if there's enough funding and if we are successful in this initial pilot program, we can easily launch this in every school that we have. So I think we want to be safer. And we know the impact having pre-K kids to prepare for elementary school, kindergarten is a lot higher than
They already put around $100 million for the pre-K funding, which is not.
They did. Our current governor also in support of this pre-K program, and so although we're not maybe getting that money, but hopefully we will try to figure out funding for pre-K program.
Right.
We simply want to be ready for.
It's a very good step. I have a kid in pre-K, so I need to support this.
Thank you, sir. Especially for low-income families, having pre-K program is a lot impactful that we hear from the researchers.
All right, so do we have a motion for this exciting enrollment policies?
I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve the pre-K third and fourth admission and enrollment policy for all Harmony Public School charters.
All right, and the second.
Second.
Okay. So everybody in favor of approving these 2 admission and enrollment policies, say aye. Aye. Thank you, it's approved. The next item is related to review and approve the updated pre-K third and pre-K fourth education plan with the social and emotional development domain within pre-kindergarten guidelines and assessment instruments for all charters.
This is about education plan, so I'll turn table to Dr. Rosa.
TA asked us to update our plan with social and emotional growth domain, and also they asked about the assessment that we're planning on using for assessing pre-K students. Start with the social and emotional skills domain. In our K through 12, we are using a character education program by Second Step. So they also have an early childhood program. And in this social and emotional development domain, we're talking about learning, skills for learning, such as listening, paying attention. Also, we're talking about emotional domains, such as empathy, understanding others, relating with others, emotion management, controlling your anger, and treating others with respect, and friendship skills, problem-solving skills. And some of these are as emotional as social, so we'd like to instill those skills in those students. And of course, it's very important that with all these, we aim the transitioning, smooth transitioning to kindergarten. So we would like to implement this social emotional curriculum, and another way, another name for it is the character education curriculum for these young students. Also for progress monitoring for their assessment, we are using among the list of state recommended sources, there is a assessment called Circle. We're going to be using Circle. Our elementary department selected that as a tool that we're going to use for next year. So those are the updates that we have made in the pre-K program, pre-K 3 and 4.
So we're asking your approval for this.
Any questions about this? We need a motion if there's no question.
I will make a motion to approve the updated pre-K 3 and pre-K 4 educational plan with the social and emotional development domain.
Second.
All right, everybody in favor of approving, say aye. Aye. It's approved. Thank you, Dr. Rosa. The next item is approval of academic committee meeting minutes.
We had our meeting today, since we have.
So you had time to.
I'm guessing you don't have any minutes in front of you. There are no other.
You only had 10 minutes.
So I propose that we get that approved in the next meeting.
Okay, so we need a motion to table this for the next meeting.
I'll move that we table the
Great.
approval of the academic committee meeting minutes of May 16th to our next meeting.
Second.
I'll second.
All right, everybody in favor of, tabling this item, say aye. Aye. It's postponed. Thank you.
That was easy.
Sorry?
That was easy.
Yeah, we were all there. We were done like 5:50 p.m. There is no way you can do it. All right, so the approval of finance committee meeting minutes.
So Dr. Yalçın, after this will come. You can sit the same place or wherever you feel comfortable.
I am.
So that Ms. Parker is not alone in that.
So the camera always is faced us. Like when somebody speaks, we should.
I think because we apologize, there's so many events going on downstairs in the multi-purpose. It's the final weeks of school. They have proms, they have events, so we had to use this room. Next time, and we don't have microphone settings here also.
Yeah. Put these people a little bit on spot. Not
Yeah.
always us.
Yeah, okay.
So they don't want to be say, but next time, it's usually they have to face the camera, but this time we forbid them.
Okay. All right.
Finance Committee met on May 13, last Friday at 6 p.m. Mr. Keskin and Dr. Koch as both members were present.
5 p.m.
5 p.m. Sorry, that's great. 5 p.m. We have to correct this. It says 56. And there was a few items during this committee, but overall they were under 3 different categories. One was bid awardings. The other category was contract extensions. The other category was signing contracts, sports sites, every contract above 50,000. And there was some review items. For bid awardings, there was, I just like to remind or inform you that our bidding process, we partner with Harris County Department of Education, choice partners with our bidding process, according with their guidance and our local policy. We create a bidding package, and then local teams, local schools evaluate their bids, such as catering, janitorial, lunch, school bus, etc. So we like our local people who receives the service have the evaluation. And then committee creates 3 or sometimes some cases more qualified vendors as pools, and then highest pointed, general highest pointed vendor gets the bids. We decided to move to this credit pool option because of some experiences and also his campus recommendations. If, for example, in one of our small cities, the janitorial company's owner, a small company, owner died. And there's only 2 months of school left. Son stepped in and said he's gonna take care of it, but it will be really difficult for a school of 600 students in Odessa, doesn't have a janitorial company. So, and bidding process takes a long time, and there is really hard time to find a cooperative purchasing company provides that kind of service. So since last year we created those pools, but we still award one, the best one, the highest one, according to the evaluation. The award criteria posted on our RFPs. Basically, I'm just going to give you a summary. There's 7 items, but 40% is related with price, 30% is related with quality of goods, and 30% is the vendor, quality of vendor who is going to provide those services. It counts towards service as well, janitorials and especially other service-related products.
Can you repeat again? 40% price, 30% quality.
30% is quality of the product. 30% is the vendor-related items, such as I don't want to go in details. There is like 7 items, but these are the 3 categories.
Thank you.
So committee, and it takes 3-4 months to do one evaluation. There is lots of local involvement. There is lots of surveys. There is maybe 20 people involved in local levels to be part of this. And at the end, after everything is done, it comes to the finance committee. Finance committee evaluates them and makes the decision, and it's contingent upon your approval. It goes in effect. The first one we had was janitorial services. This year we bid for Dallas, Fort Worth, and Beaumont area schools, and those awarding bidding were successful. There was many applicants, and board recommended to create 3 pools, and Dallas Fort Worth decided, both districts decided to change their vendors to highest pointed vendors. For janitorial service, it's important that our people at local service are satisfied, because it's about school safety, health issues. So, and their choice was awarded, recommended by the finance committee. Second one was catering services. Well, for catering services, we went bidding for Dallas Fort Worth, Odessa, Laredo, and San Antonio schools. Interestingly, except for all of the cities were awarded the same previous vendors. Dallas, Fort Worth, Odessa, Laredo, San Antonio, they all kept the same vendor. And the reason for this bidding was because vendors asked for price increase, and as a procedure in our department, we don't award price. If price changes, we want to go to bidding. So we went to bidding, and those vendors won those bids again. The third one for bidding was event catering, like meeting or training, lunch, food or breakfast kind of catering. We had San Antonio and Austin. We had 6 qualified vendors in Houston and 2 in San Antonio. These were bidding type of contracts. Second item was, and it's one item, there was 10 different contracts whose value is more than 50,000, which comes to the finance committee. And those 10 contracts were awarded, were signed. One was electronic equipment, which was bid already. We got the order numbers and awarded. This contract is approved. And there was 5 playground equipment contracts. They are all bidded through corporate purchasing, and that's the playground equipment for 5 different campuses. We have elevator replacement project required by our construction department. we purchased ITSCO STEM Lab from academic departments, and also we awarded 2 of janitorial and catering service vendors, the highest point vendors on the pool during this meeting. So these 10 contracts were awarded. And there was second type, the last one was extension projects. There was Houston, College Station, San Antonio, Austin, Lubbock, Laredo, Brownsville, and Toso. Janitorial services were recommended to be extended because these vendors, our schools were happy with these vendors, and the price increase was not requested. So this extension contracts were approved during the committee. Next one is 1-year extension for catering services, school lunch. Houston, College Station, Beaumont, Austin, Lubbock, Brownsville, and El Paso were recommended because they did not increase their prices, and our schools were happy with the service, and it was recommended as well. Next 3 items were items that can come to your board meeting in next items. We gave the committee a review of those items in advance. I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have any. It was the longest board meeting the last 2 years I have. Coming meeting.
The agenda was 2.5 pages. Yes.
Yes, it's true. 2.5 pages. I believe we provide all the documentation to you. I think you have more than maybe about 50, 60 pages. All this. But we discussed all this during committee meeting with 2 board members present in length. Again, all these items were not recommendation of one department, but they were feedbacks from or requests from local campuses and principals and secretaries. So all related parties were involved in decision making.
The electronic equipment purchase, and there's a reference to Race to Top. Is this again the device procurement like Chromebooks? Was it, or is it something else?
Actually, it includes also race stuff in electronic equipment, but mostly just regular electronic equipment,
Regular
laptops and
servers.
desktops. Yes.
So this is like for the next upcoming years, the needs, the technology needs that we have.
Yes, sir.
Everything.
Based on the needs of every campuses.
Including new campuses? Or it's not
Yes.
there, including new campuses? Okay. Well, I assume there were 2 board members there, so. Is there any questions, comments? Or?
Or motion.
I will make a motion to approve finance committee meeting minutes.
All right. Okay, so,
Never mind, let him do it.
no, you did it, you already did it. No seconds. All right, so everybody in favor of approving the finance committee meeting minutes, say aye. Aye, they are approved. Thank you, I'd like to approve this. Okay, I have to go back to the agenda, okay, here. The next item is approval of fiscal audit engagement with Gomez and Company for 2015-2016 school year.
Yes, sir. Every year you engage one financial auditor from the TA approved financial auditor list. It is we work with Gomez and Company. They have been our auditor for many years, and we received their proposal. It's the same pricing, same terms, and we were happy with their service. We recommend to be this company to be hired as financial auditor.
I assume there are a lot of advantages of working with the same company.
Yes, sir.
Is there any disadvantage?
Disadvantage is you are so used to that company and that company is so used to you, so there's the TA wanted to change the legislation to change an audit every 10 years. But it didn't pass.
This was the last legislative session.
It didn't even go there, but they were trying to do that, and we knew about it. They asked our opinions, but it didn't not been 10 years with Amazon.
And I think that's a good point, sir, to sometimes, if you only work with one organization, vendor, or do financial audit, certainly it may be a concern. Because we do also, remember, ask S&P rate us, and we go bond market, believe me, and you all know that going through a bond process, they look at our finances more thoroughly than any other people. If there is something then fishy or something that unpleasant, I think that may be a good point. But because we go through that system and we have a financial consultant, and we're confident that Mr. Gomez and his work is great, and he has been doing the same work for many charter schools in Greece. He's very experienced and efficient. I think that's a big benefit. And not costly compared to many other places.
If there's no other questions, I'll go ahead and make the motion for the approval of the fiscal audit engagement with Gomez and Company for 2015-2016 school year.
I second that.
All right, so everybody, if you are approving this engagement with Gomez and Company, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's approved. Thank you. The next item is review of third quarterly financial reports.
Then, this
Yes, this, as you know, we bring you our financial position and income statement every quarter, and we bring you the budget amendments, and next month we bring you for financials. This is as of March 31st. If you look at status of activities, this page, it shows our 9-month operation. Our total revenue was 222.9 million. Our expenditure is 218 million, and our change in net assets is our surplus 4.3 million. Our expectation for year end is 6 to 8 million, but our people always surprise us with unspent funds, so I don't want to make any comments. But numbers show 6 to 8 million as of March 31st for the year end.
6 to 8.
6 to 8.
6 to 8 million.
Not 6 to 8.
Unspent a month?
Yes.
Okay.
Our financial position shows $424 million total assets, and our net assets are $54 million as of March 31st. These statements are made public on the investors board web page called EMA. So all investors are looking at that after you adopt this.
So this is a review item. If you have questions, let's feel free to ask. Otherwise, we don't need an action. So I should ask like the usual question. Anything alarming?
Well, we have to increase the salaries. I was alarmed by all these things, but it looks like it's working out. There's one district has low
next year. I should increase more.
I'm not planning for next year.
All right. So, okay. Thank you, Dr. Akildis. So this is this will open to many discussions. So this was a review item. Thank you. So next item is approval of adoption of revision to the family and medical leave policy, an amendment to the employee handbook in accordance with the policy revision regarding maternity leave and short-term disability.
Mr. Chairman and members of the board, it's looked like this is going to be a very short meeting because we have to, although during the committee meetings I hear that you spend a lot of time, because we have to table this, I'm going to ask you to table this, or this paper has to table this item, because if we prepare any policies or any rules and regulations, we go back and we train the lawyers and our executive team, try to finalize the best policy, but I was told that our HR department caught several errors in this policy, even though it was looked at by many people, including lawyers. And maybe we should bring this to you next time there is no urgency on this item. So we'll correct all those typos and finalize and bring it back to you in the next one. So item 13, if we can ask you to table this.
All right, so we can entertain a motion to table this
But
item.
the main idea is, I think, Gilda's mentioned a little bit in the finance committee. The idea is you want to get, take the, I guess, maternity leave out, if I'm not correct, and then put a disability leave instead of that, right? I mean,
Yes, sir.
That's the
Yes, sir.
idea, that's what you want to do.
That's the intention, overall that's the intention,
But not only that, short-term disability for more extensive, all employees, so it's not mentioned that, so we will bring it in the June 13th meeting, so it's not urgent. We can table it.
That's why I wanted to mention it over here, just, so that you will have the idea. I mean,
Yeah, you're replacing maternity leave with
With
Short-term
disability.
short-term disability.
Paid short-term disability.
Paid short-term disability, yeah.
Speaking of the nurse.
It's interesting, it sounds very interesting, so like.
Do you mind? I mean, we've been paying for maternity leave, 6 weeks paid leave, and this has been on since 2008, I believe, or 2009. Meanwhile, we have 3,000 plus employees, and people have surgeries, traffic accidents, not work-related injuries, and they cannot make to work, they cannot come, they cannot work 2 months. There's no way we can pay public funds, an employee is not paid. So, and if they don't have short-term disability insurance, they are behind their mortgages, they are behind their car payments, there's lots of, and teacher salaries are not so great. So, and there was many issues that we, our HR department, I believe, at the end of that, simultaneously we were looking at short-term disability, how much it's going to cost if Harmony pays for all employees, and how much the maternity leave cost us so far. And short-term disability, what we find out is covers maternity leaves as well. But instead of 6 weeks, it covers 12 weeks, parallel to FMLA leaves. And but the trick is, if you don't work, you get only 60% of your salary. And we choose the highest, up to $1,000, which covers every administrator, every teacher, everybody. So if a person has an accident, an injury, or maternity, they can, if they cannot work, they can be off for up to 12 weeks and will be paid and not be, behind with payments, and they can still survive and can get back on.
So basically, you want to expand this coverage to help not only maternity, but also other employees, everybody. So that's the intention, to protect the employees. But we're going to give you a perfect scenario hopefully next time.
Well, it's not so bad if you define the word disability, meaning they cannot get to work. But if you put on their record that they have a disability, that can,
Yeah, it's in the, yes, you're right, it's in the policy, that item defines that also.
We discussed, it took like for more than 4 weeks now, we were negotiating back and forth with Assurant, who is insurance providers. We make sure that disability is not disability, anything prevents them to come to work. They require doctor support that the employee cannot work, it's fair. For maternity, they don't require anything for 6 weeks. If it's beyond 6 weeks, they want doctor. So I think it's a fair deal. And since it's employer paid, all pre-existing conditions are covered. So it's a good thing as well.
All right, I guess we'll have time to discuss it next time also. So we need a motion to table this one out.
I was going to make a motion to table this particular item until our next meeting on July 13th.
Anybody seconding?
I second that one.
All right, Mr. seconded. Everybody in favor of tabling this item to the next board meeting, say aye.
Aye.
All right, so we have been rushing so that we come to this
No, we're not
important.
rushing, sir.
important because we have our last item on the schedule is update from Director of Development regarding Harmony Public Schools fundraising campaign. But I also have some closing remarks. So our next item is update from the Director of Development regarding fundraising campaign.
Yes, so
We want to have enough
members of
time
the
for
board.
this important item.
Yes, so this is the last item, is an update. Last time when you met Ms. Peacham, she was working for Dini Partners, Dini Spears, Dini Spears as our consultant and to help us to fundraise $24 million. Now she's kindly accepted our offer a couple of months ago and working as a director of development at Harmony Public School Central Office. So she's been working along with Dini Spears to how we can strategize and collect the fundraise $24 million. And she's been working tirelessly at the central office. She has some update and some proposals for you.
Yes, so as you said, I'm here to discuss the development progress and then also talk about the role that the board can play in our fundraising efforts. So many of you, I believe, were in the room when Dini Spears gave their final report from the campaign planning study, which said absolutely a multi-million effort is definitely feasible for Harmony. That would be, that's in our future, but to get there, there's a lot of readiness work that needs to be done internally to prepare us for that success. So that's my role here, is to really engage the organization in those activities to set us up for success in the future. And some of the things that we're working on is really defining those philanthropic objectives. So what is it that we're asking funders to fund? And that's not simply just looking at our budget and handpicking what might fit that day, but it's really talking to our potential donors and listening to what they're interested in and then aligning what their interests are with what we have and what our philanthropic needs are. So working that way is setting us up for the most success. And then also we're focusing on, well, we know that relationships are really key to fundraising, and where you guys are a wonderful board, you're 5 people, and we really want to augment our volunteer leadership by creating a development council, and those volunteers would be our advocates in the philanthropic community. So we're really looking to build that and add our numbers throughout the system to be able to reach out to those donors on our behalf and make those connections. So that's certainly a focus this year. And then the last thing I want to talk about, which is certainly the thing that you may play the strongest role in, is really building a culture of philanthropy here, which seems a little vague. So an organization with a strong culture of philanthropy really values and treasures and promotes giving from its mission. So it's something that's a priority for everyone, for the board, the staff, even our Harmony families. And that's something that's pretty new for Harmony. We've found incredible success through bond financing and state and federal grants, but we really haven't had a past of focusing on that philanthropy from the private sector. So that's something that we need to focus on building, because it's something that, although I'm spearheading it here along with Dr. Shirim, it's something that 2 people cannot accomplish on their own. Of course, we'll be doing the work, but to make the right introductions and connections with the community, we need the help of everybody. So let's see. So especially because you guys, the board approved the 2020 plan, right, which had a huge emphasis on engaging with the community and the way that philanthropy, can play a role in that. So through experience, we know that philanthropists look to the board of an organization to set the pace for giving and lay that foundation. So in many grant applications, for example, we'll see questions like, what is the percentage of board members who give and how much do they give? And that's a pretty common question. So wouldn't it be amazing to be able to say 100% of our board members participate, which I know this is also new for you, so I'm seeing some faces up there, but that's okay.
So you can tell she's asking money, even if it's a little. So because she's actually, I'm very confident that she's going to fundraise a lot of money. But really, I've seen recent reports, because she's helping us draft some application to other philanthropists. And in their application now, they're asking is your board members are giving, and what percent? They're not asking a month. What percent of your board members giving donation to your own organization? And she wants to say 100%. Right?
That would be awesome. Especially because we are new to philanthropy, so many funders are saying, Harmony, they've never asked me for money
Maybe you
before.
should include executives too.
Yeah. Exactly, the more the merrier. So it is something that's very important, and I know this is not necessarily what you were recruited for, and it's something that's new, so I just want to open the conversation. I have a pledge form for you guys to look at, take home, and think about, and then we can follow up with a private conversation. So we clearly want this to be something that's comfortable for you guys, but also a meaningful gift where you feel you'll really be able to help Harmony get the ball rolling. So I have the forms. I didn't have them in your packets, but I'll pass them out to you guys. And then if you have questions, my contact information is on here. So I appreciate you considering it. Absolutely.
We will consider it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Sure. Thank you.
Just
So-
like 100%.
Yes.
On behalf of the board, let me just first say, our first line of defense is, you just said we approved the Harmony 2020. When we approved it, nobody said we were gonna. This will come back to us, so that's our first line of defense.
So you amend anything you want. As part of our board, amendment is open to your
Joking aside, I appreciate this. This is really helpful, and I think it's going to be a good, testament. Board members are also giving. As you said, the amount is not a big deal, but the effort or being part of it or starting this is important. And we are very excited about this process. So we want to hear more. What you do with the President Council, or how much money where are you keeping the money that you have used so far, and so on and so forth. I have one question though. If we write a check for this one, where does it go? Is it general Harmony, fundraising effort, or specific programs? You just said
Sure.
People are asking what programs. So
Right, so on this form, there's an option for you to give, it's toward the top, so you can either give where needed most, which is, to our discretion where we are in need of funds. Then also, so these are pretty basic buckets. If you want to get more specific, we can certainly talk about it one-on-one, but the other option would just be the STEM programming, so really focusing on our academic STEM programs. And then another would be school expansion. So we know there's a lot of startup costs when we add new schools, and that's something that we're in desperate need of. And then you are happy to fill in other, if you're very passionate about our gifted and talented or special education programs, whatever it may be, where we can definitely make that work, and we will ensure that your gift is designated to that area.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
And in terms of developing a presidential council that Ms. Beecham mentioned, so what would we have an advisory board, consists of non-voting members that help us to reach our community. So we want to maybe just change the name and then include brand new members such as Charles Foster, Charles Gardner, one of our current, who was the chairman of current advisory, and some other well-known people from the community, so we can expand our reach into the community, not only in Houston, maybe in Austin and Dallas-Fort Worth area. So that's coming, and with that, probably, if you know anyone you think that we should maybe include in our fundraising / presidential council board, I think we're happy to hear your recommendation, so we can speak to them.
All right. So thanks for this update, and so we don't take an action on this item. You might have some closing remarks, but let me just, for the board members, I think I already emailed you about this track on board that is going to help us with our board meetings, academic committee, and growing the board. We still have 2 spots that are empty, and also in terms of effectiveness, I've been told people. I had a conference call this morning, last week also, and I first met with them at the Texas Charter School Conference. I was very impressed with the quality, and they work with a lot of schools. They work with more than 100 charters in the United States. So I already sent you a video of that they prepared for Harmony. I think I included Dr. Taner, Mr. Yüksel, and Mr. Balaban. And so the next thing, we are still in test. We are not paying yet. We are still test drive, but then we call it test drive. So Marcy, the founder and the person who does most of this training, she's going to join through video conference our next board meeting. This just came up today, so I haven't had a chance to talk to you, and we'll talk in more details. So just to tell us the timeline and what is going to happen and so on and so forth. So, but in the meantime, just read the emails I send you, and if you can provide, input or whatever you want, the board change or your expectations, or maybe you say we don't need this, we are perfect anyway, or something like that. So that's one thing. And the secondly, just want to update you, I already sent you an email. This teacher retention surveys, we have received quite a response, around 1,000 people. The reason that I'm not sending another reminder is the quota is 1,000 people, so I don't want to pay $300 for the next level, but I will share this with all committee members and everybody else. Maybe we'll discuss it in the academic committee next time, and then bring it to the board. It's just, I want to update you on that as well. And that's it from, these are my closing remarks. Dr. Taner, do we have any, or anybody else, do we have any announcement?
This Friday, I don't know, we haven't heard anything from any of you. We have a pep rally, all Houston schools will have a pep rally this coming Friday. So, let's send out the detailed information one more time, so we will be happy and proud to see you there. And also, there will be some high school graduation ceremonies, such as we have some high schools, if you would like to join or just make some comments as just a keynote speaker or just a guest speaker, I think it's very good to have one of you to attend that. I will be happy to send those information to you also.
Yes,
advancement, discovery, school of discovery, high school, Sugarland High School.
Omar is our designated speaker.
Okay.
Whenever you need somebody, you can, or Alan.
But at this point, passing out those diplomas, I think this will be good to have you there. So I will be happy to send those information to you.
Yes, thank you. I participated in Pep Rally several times. It's very energetic, exciting to see all these kids that go to different colleges. It's amazing.
Well, I attended graduation. I'd be interested in knowing where and when.
Yes, I will send.
And then also, it's sort of somewhat related. I attended State STEM Education Day last week, and I just want to encourage any of the board members who would have an interest in that, because I learned a lot of detail about STEM education that I didn't know. It was very informative and encouraging to me. Also, it was getting the perspective of the people who hire and what they're looking for in our graduates, which again was helpful. But then another thing was when I went around and met all the vendors and talked to them, to be able to say I was at the Harmony board, and they really appreciated the fact that we had an interest in being there in that way. I encourage you to think about doing that next year.
I think for the graduation and school closing events, if Mr. Yüksel can maybe organize it in a way that, because we have a graduation, a couple of graduations on the same day, 27th, like North Campus, the South Sugarland Campus, so we can maybe ask you to go participate certain months. I think they will be really great if they all see you in that in their events.
I don't have a voice right now for speaking.
And also next Tuesday we will be holding an event. We raise more than $11,000 for the families and students who were affected because of the beautiful flood. So we will distribute those funds right now. We have some family members, staff members. So 9 a.m. in the first floor multi-purpose room.
We'll send you, electronic invitation and possibly follow-up call for Tuesday event and the graduation.
Yes, sir, I will do that.
All right, so with all that, we need a motion to adjourn this wonderful meeting.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right, anyone second?
I'll second.
All right, so everybody in favor of adjourning this meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.